There's a lake near where I live, and I know without a doubt that when I go for a walk there, I feel better. And it's not just physical, though, yes, that's part of it as well. But I feel clearer. I feel more connected to Source, more connected to Mother Earth. I feel more like myself. And I feel like I've actually given something back to my own system after a week of giving to everyone else. But guess what? I still don't go. Not consistently, anyway. Not the way that I show up to my work commitments or the way I turn up for other people. The lake just sits there and I sit here, and there's this gap between what I know would help me and what I actually do. And I want to talk about that gap today because I think most of you will have your own version of it. It might not be a lake walk, it might be, just something that you think or keep saying that you'll get back to. Maybe it's going to the gym, eating properly, or some practice that you keep meaning to start. Maybe it's something you did once and you felt so much better for it, and then you just stopped. Because this is not about productivity. It's not a time management problem, and it's definitely not a willpower problem. And what I have come to understand about this gap is that it's not a failure of knowing, it is information about what we believe. And the thing is, right, we tend to reframe this as a discipline issue. We say, I know I should do it. I need to be more consistent, more motivated, more organized, have more structure in my life. And we treat it like a logistical problem that we have to solve. But what I've noticed is that the things we do consistently, we do them because somewhere underneath we believe that they matter. We believe that they're worth our time. And we believe that we're the kind of person who does that thing. It's our identity. And the things we consistently don't do for ourselves, there's something underneath those too. And it's not laziness, right? It's not a lack of information. You already know that, in my case, I already know that the walk around the lake helps me. It helps me to be better in every aspect of my life. I know that the thing that I'm avoiding makes me feel better. That's not the problem. What's underneath is much quieter than laziness. It's a belief often we've never consciously examined about whether we're actually worth making time for. So where does that belief come from? And let's be honest, most of us weren't explicitly taught that our needs don't matter. It came across more subtler than that. We were taught things like, doing things for others is what we have to focus on, that rest needs to be earned, that productivity has value, and simply being has to justify itself. That human doing versus human being. We watched adults push around us and push through and deny themselves and prioritize everyone else. And we absorb the message that this is what responsible people do. So, we didn't decide these things consciously. They just became the operating system under everything else. And so when it comes to the lake walk or whatever your version is, there's this quiet calculation that's running in the background, asking yourself, is this justified? Have I earned it? Is there something more important that I should be doing for someone else right now. For anything work related, anything directed outward, or doing, as I said before, doing things for other people, the answer tends to come back, yes, of course it's worth doing. For the things we do purely for ourselves, purely because they nourish us, they bring the best version of ourselves out, the calculation often comes back differently. Because when I look honestly at why I don't go, not the surface reasons, not the, I've been busy or the timing hasn't worked out, I've got client calls in between, la la la, all the excuses, right? But when I look at what is actually underneath, what I find is this. I don't fully believe in my body that taking time for me is as legitimate as the other things competing for that same hour. Even though I know it is, even though I can articulate clearly in so many different ways why it matters and how it helps me. The knowing lives in my head, the believing lives somewhere deeper. And those two things are not always in the same place. And that's not a comfortable thing to sit with, but I think it's the honest thing. And here's why it matters to name it this way rather than reaching straight for a solution. If you keep treating this as a discipline problem, you will keep setting alarms, making plans, and being quietly disappointed in yourself when it doesn't stick. You'll keep trying to force the behavior without ever looking at what is actually running underneath it. The self-discovery work is not in the walking itself, right? It's not in just showing up and ticking that box. It's in looking at what you actually believe about your own worthiness to be cared for, to be prioritized, including by yourself. So, what I want to offer here is a reframe. The gap between what you know would help you and what you actually do for yourself is not evidence that you're broken, you're undisciplined, or you're lacking in some way. It's information. It's telling you something about what you believe at a level that is deeper than conscious thought. And when you can see that, when you can name it rather than, um, just feeling vaguely guilty about not going to the lake or not going to the gym or not cooking that healthy meal, something shifts. Not immediately, and it's not magic. It's not a magic wand that goes, ta-da, we're suddenly walking every day. But you can't change a belief you haven't seen yet. And seeing it, honestly, is the beginning of something different. Now, guys, I'm not going to give you a 5-step plan because I don't think that is actually what this needs. But there is one thing that I have found that is worth sharing, and I'll offer it because it's honest rather than tidy. I'm going to say this to you. Stop making the action the goal, at least for now. Instead of saying, I need to go for a walk, try something like, what is the smallest possible version of it that your system would not argue with? All right. So, not the whole lake walk. Maybe it's just, I don't go for a full hour. Maybe it's just getting in the car, driving there, sitting there at the edge for 10 minutes, doing a meditation or taking a coffee or taking a book or just being in that space. Because here's the thing about beliefs. They don't shift through willpower. They shift through evidence. And every time you do the smallest version of the thing, You give your nervous system a small piece of evidence that you're someone who does this, that you're worth doing this for. And over time, that evidence accumulates. And the full version you keep not doing gives your belief system nothing to work with. The tiny version you actually do chips away at it quietly. I went to the lake today for about 20 minutes, and it wasn't the long walk that I had in my head, but it was enough. And it changed my frame of mind, it changed my mindset, made me feel better in myself. And it was just a very small shift. So think of one thing you know would actually help you. I know you guys have all got something like, similar to my lake walk. One thing that you keep not doing, and not because life doesn't, get in the way, because it does, right? But something that you have a consistent pattern of not prioritizing. And most people will find it something to do with themselves. And when you've worked that out, instead of asking yourself why you can't make yourself do it, ask yourself this instead. What would have to be true about what I believe about myself for this to keep not happening? Now, this is not a criticism, it's a genuine question. And we're going to ask it with curiosity rather than judgment. Because what comes up when you ask that honestly is usually a lot more interesting than anything on your to-do list. So I'm going to leave that one with you guys. Have an amazing week. And thank you for all the support too, the likes, the comments, the subscribes. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.